Hi there, Javier here. Today I want to talk about a moral dilemma called the trolley problem. Now imagine that you're driving a trolley down some tracks down a hill, and up ahead you see 5 people on the tracks. Now these people can't get off the tracks because they've been tied down to the tracks by, say, an evil philosopher, an evil bearded philosopher, who, as you soon discover, has also sabotaged the brakes on your trolley, so you have no way of stopping. Now, you do have an out, though. You notice that before you reach where the 5 people are tied to the tracks, there's a fork, there's a split in the tracks, where there's another set of tracks that goes off, and you do have enough time to reach out and hit the switch to change course so that the trolley goes off on the different set of tracks, saving the lives of the 5 innocent people who are tied to the tracks, but killing one innocent person who the evil bearded philosopher tied to the other set of tracks, who would have otherwise lived if you had done nothing. So what do? Do you pull the switch? Now there's a variation on this problem called the Fat Man variation. This one, it starts out similarly. There's a trolley going down tracks. There's 5 people that are tied to the tracks. Brakes don't work, except this time there's no split in the tracks. And you're not driving the trolley. You're watching this from a bridge above the tracks. Now, standing next to you is a fat man who's leaning over the rail to get a good look at the carnage that's about to ensue. And you, from your experience working in the trolley yard, know that one, people who fall off this particular bridge always fall right on the tracks. Also, you know that this fat man is big enough that if he were to fall in front of the trolley, he would stop the trolley before it got to the 5 people, therefore saving those 5 people. So all you have to do is reach over. The guy's already leaning over the rail. Just give him a good push. You kill him, but you save the 5 people. What do? Do you give the fat man a push? See, what's interesting about these two problems is that on paper, if you do a fact sheet, they're essentially the same problem. If you do nothing, 5 innocent people die. But if you take action to save those 5 innocent people, in the process you kill one innocent person who otherwise wouldn't have died. Yet, most people don't see it that way. When the question is posed, most people will pull the switch to save the 5 people in the first problem, the original problem, and yet most people will refuse to push the fat man to save those 5 people. Very interesting. In fact, I'll link to a couple articles that talk about some studies done with functional magnetic resonance imaging. It's kind of a brain scanning where they can see what's going on in your brain, where when these two problems were posed to people while their brains were being scanned, 2 completely different parts of the brain went into action trying to solve the problems. So in other words, your decision-making machinery of the brain, your moral decision-making machinery of the brain, saw these 2 variations, which on paper should be the same, as 2 completely different problems. And I think that's at the heart of what's wrong with the kind of the rational approach to it, which says that it's really the same problem. And that would be that the rational approach ignores the innate moral sense that tells you that they're 2 different problems, because your morality essentially comes from your brain. But you can't do that. And the reason you can't do that is because even in the rational way of approaching the problem, you're still working from premises that are based wholly on your innate moral sense. And those would be that saving people is good, and killing people is bad. I mean, why should that be? I mean, why should you care? What is it about a human life that gives it any kind of intrinsic value? What makes murder intrinsically wrong? It can only be your innate moral sense. It comes from your brain. And so it would be fallacious to accept a premise based on your innate moral sense, but then ignore your innate moral sense further on down the line when looking at the problem. And I think this is a common mistake, or it's a mistake that, for example, Sam Harris, a couple years ago, he wrote an essay called In Defense of Torture. Matter of fact, I'll put the link there. And if you read through it, through his whole meticulous, logical, rational dissection of why torture is justified, he makes claims to the effect that, say, that killing someone or hurting someone from a distance is no different than doing it right up close where you can look them in the eye. The reason being that to the victim, the effect is the same. However, your innate moral sense tells you that one of those two is indeed worse than the other. And therefore, one of those two is indeed worse than the other. And Dendrophilian, in the video that I'm responding to here, made the same mistake when he put forth the claim, and I don't know if he actually believes it or not. I suspect he doesn't, but he put forth the claim that essentially you, sitting there watching YouTube when you could be out actively saving someone's life, are just as guilty of murder as a hitman who takes money to go out and actively kill someone. No. It's not even close to being right. Anyway, Javier out.